Welcome to Omastruestories. Today, our story is that of Emeka, the newest barber in the village. Let's get into it. I promise you will enjoy it with your full chest. In a bustling city, a mysterious man named Emeka opened a barber shop that quickly became famous for its perfect haircuts. No one understood how Emeka managed to give flawless haircuts without using a single mirror, but his skills drew in a crowd. Day after day, people would line up outside his shop, eager to get a haircut from the man whose touch seemed almost magical. One day, Emeka arrived at his shop, carefully observing everything around him. He had a calm demeanor, but his eyes hid something dark. He unlocked the door and prepared the shop for another busy day. Customers were already waiting outside, ready to be amazed by the perfection of his cuts. The first customer of the day was Kofi, a young man who was excited to try Emeka's services. He stepped inside the shop, looking around curiously. As he sat down, he couldn't help but notice the lack of mirrors. There was something unsettling about the absence of reflections, but Kofi pushed the thought aside. Emeka greeted Kofi warmly, and without further ado, began cutting his hair. Kofi felt at ease as Emeka's skilled hands moved swiftly, and when the cut was done, he marveled at how perfect it was, even though he hadn't seen himself in a mirror. Emeka collected the hair that had fallen to the floor, storing it in a small box he kept hidden. More customers came in throughout the day, each one leaving with a perfect haircut. No one noticed Emeka discreetly collecting the strands of hair after every cut. His actions were subtle, and no one questioned why he did it. Days turned into weeks, and Emeka's shop continued to thrive. People from all over the city came to experience the magic of his haircuts. However, Kofi began to notice something strange. Despite his efforts at work, he felt as though he was stuck in the same place, unable to make any progress. He couldn't understand why things weren't going well for him. One evening, Kofi sat at home, thinking about his visit to Emeka's shop. It was then that he remembered the absence of mirrors. Why would a barber not have mirrors? The thought nagged at him, and he decided to talk to other customers who had been to Emeka's shop. Kofi's friends, Musa and Yemi, had also been to the shop and were experiencing similar issues. They felt as though something was holding them back, but they couldn't explain it. The three of them decided to investigate further, hoping to find answers. The next day, Kofi, Musa, and Yemi stood outside Emeka's shop, observing the people who entered and left. They noticed how everyone seemed happy and impressed with their haircuts, but there was still that strange absence of mirrors. Determined to get to the bottom of it, they decided to confront Emeka. As they stepped inside, Emeka greeted them as usual, but there was something in his eyes that made Kofi uneasy. Emeka began cutting Musa's hair, and Kofi subtly brought a small hand mirror with him, hiding it under his shirt. He wanted to see what was happening behind the scenes. As Emeka walked, Kofi managed to sneak a glance into the mirror. To his horror, Emeka's reflection in the mirror was not that of a normal man. It was dark, shadowy, and ghostly, with glowing eyes. Kofi's hand trembled as he saw the monstrous reflection, and the mirror slipped from his grip, crashing to the floor. The sound of the mirror breaking echoed through the shop, and Emeka turned sharply, his glowing eyes locking onto Kofi. There was a moment of silence, and then Emeka spoke, his voice calm but threatening. He warned them to leave the shop and never return. Kofi, Musa, and Yemi left the shop, shaken by what they had seen. They realized that there was something terribly wrong with Emeka, and they needed to find out what. They began talking to other customers, gathering stories of people who had visited the shop and experienced strange setbacks in their lives. Over the next few days, the group learned that every customer who had been to Emeka's shop seemed to be suffering from some form of misfortune. Their careers had stalled, their relationships had fallen apart, and they were unable to move forward in life. It became clear to Kofi, Musa, and Yemi that Emeka's haircuts were not just ordinary haircuts. Something darker was at play. Determined to find out more, they planned to confront Emeka once again. This time, they were prepared. They brought a small box with them, planning to see if it contained the strands of hair Emeka had been collecting. As they entered the shop, Emeka greeted them, but there was a sense of unease in the air. Yemi, who was holding the box, opened it to reveal strands of hair from various customers. The realization hit them all at once. Emeka had been using the hair to control people's lives, holding them back and preventing them from achieving success. As they looked up, they saw Emeka's face darken, and his ghostly form began to reveal itself more clearly. Emeka's dark, ghostly presence filled the room as he warned them once again to leave. But this time, Musa refused to back down. He grabbed the box and threw it on the floor, causing the strands of hair to scatter everywhere. Emeka's eyes glowed with rage as his power began to weaken. Musa, Kofi, and Yemi realized that the only way to break Emeka's hold over everyone was to destroy the box completely. They began stomping on the hair, crushing it under their feet. Emeka's ghostly form wavered, his power diminishing as his connection to the hair was severed. As the box was destroyed, Emeka let out a terrifying scream. His ghostly form began to fade, and the entire shop started to collapse. The walls cracked, and debris fell as the shop crumbled around them. Musa, Kofi, and Yemi ran out of the shop, barely escaping the destruction. Outside, they watched as the shop continued to fall apart. The once bustling barber shop was now nothing but a pile of rubble. Emeka's power was gone, and the dark presence that had haunted the city had been lifted. Days later, Musa and his friends gathered to reflect on what had happened. They were relieved that the nightmare was over, but they couldn't shake the feeling that they had been lucky to escape with their lives. They shared their story with others, warning them of the dangers they had faced. As the sun set over the city, Musa stood alone, looking at his phone. He thought about everything that had happened and how close they had come to being trapped under Emeka's spell. He sent a message to his friends, letting them know that they had finally put an end to Emeka's dark influence. From that day forward, people who had once been held back by Emeka's curse began to see improvements in their lives. Their careers flourished, their relationships mended, and they were able to move forward without the dark shadow looming over them. Emeka's barber shop was gone, and so was his hold on the city. And so, the story of Emeka, the ghostly barber, came to an end. But the memory of his dark influence lingered, a reminder that not everything is as it seems, and sometimes, the things that appear perfect on the surface hide something far more sinister beneath. Thanks for watching Omastruestories. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, comment, like and share whenever you visit our channel. See you in our next drop. Love you all.